Hey, what's up? This is Harry Wagner from Harry's Situations, and today I want to talk to you about off-road lights. I've got several different vehicles and they all have different light setups, but what they have in similarity is that they all are packaged really well on the vehicle, they fit a specific theme, and they put out a ton of light. You're going to see a lot of Baja Designs lights here, but not everything I run is from Baja Designs. Some things we're going to cover today include packaging, light output, how much amperage they draw, mounting, different configurations, amber versus clear lenses. So stay with us. We're going to cover all that and more in this video. One of my favorite recent collaborations is between the Nitto pit crew and Baja Designs. They provided custom Nitto branded Baja Design squadrons to different people in the pit crew, myself included, and I love them. If you've noticed that I'm mentioning Nitto a lot, it's because this video is actually brought to you by Nitto Tire. If you like what we're doing here, please like and subscribe to the Driving Line YouTube channel so you don't miss any content in the future. My Ram behind me here has a 30-inch Baja Designs Onyx 6 light bar and then two Baja Designs LP6 amber lights in the AEV bumper. Now originally I just put the amber lights in the bumper and I really like that in the fog. Where I live in the Sierra Valley, we get a lot of fog in the winter. My Ram has amber lights down low, so does my Tundra, so does my wife's Subaru, and those really help to cut through the fog. They help oncoming traffic if there is any CU. But I found that ambers don't really throw light out like a light bar does or like a clear light does. So that's why I added the 30-inch Onyx 6 bar to the bumper here. So they're currently wired together through the fog light switch. I'll be honest with you, I don't really like that setup. I'd like to keep the ambers on the fog light switch and then put the light bar on a floor dimmer switch like I have in my Tundra. I think that would be a much more useful combination. So this combo, as shown here, produces 54,000 lumens between the amber lights and the light bar, and it draws about 36 amps, so a pretty healthy amp draw. Before we go too far down the road and talk about specific installations in my own vehicles, let's talk about some terminology here related to lights. Wattage is voltage times amperage, which is basically how much power the lights are drawing. So our voltage is typically around 14 volts when the vehicle is running. And if you had a light that's a 140 watt light, you can expect it to draw about 10 amps. So old halogen lamps, those drew a ton of power. You had to upgrade your wiring, you had to upgrade your alternator, run dual batteries. These days, modern HID and LED light emitting diodes are much more efficient, but as you start to add more and more of them, they can still have a pretty significant power draw. So you're gonna wanna keep an eye on that and see if you do need to upgrade your alternator or perhaps add dual batteries. If you have things like a fridge, a giant stereo, other electronics, then those still might be a factor today. We just run a lot more things than we did in the old days when we had a bank of lights across the back of our truck on a triple-double chrome roll bar. Now, lumens are a function of light output, and if you watch the video we made about air compressors, I complained that every different manufacturer seems to rate their compressors different. One rates it at 0 PSI, one rates it at 30 PSI, and it makes it really hard to compare things. I feel like lumens are sort of the same when it comes to lights. It makes it difficult to compare, but in general, more lumens mean more light output. Now, what direction that light output goes depends on the beam pattern. So if you've ever gone past a construction site at night, you've seen those big globe lights, those put out a lot of light in every direction. So that's a floodlight, which is at one end of the spectrum. The other end of the spectrum, we've got spotlights, like the lights on this Ram here. So those can throw light super far, literally over a mile down the road, but it's in a pencil thin pattern. So generally we want something in between these two extremes. So we would have like a combination pattern of a spot and maybe more of a floodlight. Fog lights typically are amber. Those have their own sort of pattern and color. And then you've got combo lights. So all of the Onyx 6 bars that I run on my different vehicles are a combination. There's 6 little diodes in there, and the inner 4 all have a clear, basically a spot pattern, and then the outer 2, if you look at the actual cover, is sort of fluted, and that diffuses the light and it makes it into a wider pattern. So I mentioned fog lights, and I mentioned them being amber. Amber lights all the rage these days. I dig them, I get it, I love them too. Now you'll notice those are typically mounted down low, so you want to get under the fog. They're typically amber color or yellow, and what that does is it doesn't reflect all the light back from the little water droplets in the fog. So I like those. I'll be honest with you though, at night when I'm out in the middle of nowhere, they don't throw out enough light. So that's why I added a clear 30-inch Baja Designs light bar, and that really helps at night. And then the amber lights mounted down low are great for the fog. Behind me is my wife's truck. You'll notice that it has round lights on it, not a light bar. And I'll admit that was for aesthetic purposes. I think this truck, it's a ranch truck. It has that classic look. And so it's got the round lights on an ARB bull bar, kind of going for a ute theme here. So an Australian sort of theme. ARB bull bar, Australian company. These are Light Force lights, Australian company. Mitts alloy tray, Australian company. So these are the only vehicle that I'm talking about here today that I own that has HID lights, so high intensity discharge lights. These were the rage for quite a while. They've really been taken over in the market by LED lights. And these actually, this is the HTX2 from Light Force. They have a ring of LED lights around them, and so that really helps diffuse the light, kind of provide periphery lighting, a flood lighting, and then those two big 9-inch HID lights throw light way down the road. So when we take this thing out at night, my wife will be pulling her horse trailer out to some remote location. She wants to make sure she doesn't hit a deer. She doesn't have to slam on the brakes and throw the horses around in the trailer. So these work really well for that purpose. And I find in regards to optics, the bigger the reflector, the further you can throw the light. So if you think of a normal LED light bar, it'll have a lot of little diodes, but they have little tiny reflectors. So it might be very bright, but not very focused. And these with huge reflectors, even though these just have a single HID in each one of them, with a 9-inch reflector, they can focus that light and throw it super far down the road. So these Light Force lights are all polycarbonate, really lightweight. As I mentioned, really big reflectors. So these only draw 11 amps. They make 8,400 lumens, which in the scheme of things isn't a huge number, but again, with this huge reflector, they're able to take that light and really throw it a long distance. Now, Baja Designs uses a bigger reflector than the normal LED light bar, and I think as a result that they're able to throw light further down the road too. Still not quite as far as these HIDs, but a lot of times packaging will dictate where you mount the lights, or there's a lot of vehicles you're not going to fit a 9-inch light on the front of. Jeeps are not known for their light output. But they're also not that fast of vehicles, so you don't need a lot of light without concerns about overrunning or outrunning your lights at night. On my LJ here, I've got Hella Glass H4 headlight replacements with LED bulbs, and I will confess that with the brights on, there doesn't seem to be much difference in pattern or brightness than there are with the brights off. So for that reason, I wired this 10-inch Baja Designs Onyx 6 light bar into the high beams. Note, this is not legal to run on the street. I only run it off-road, but as I mentioned, the high beams don't do me much good on-road anyway. Samco Fabrication built a custom mount for this light bar that fits on the fair lead. I think it's super clean, it's tucked away, nice and tight. It's down low, so you get really good light output, and I really like it for off-road use on my Jeep. Baja Designs offers their Onyx 6 light bars in a variety of different patterns, and they're actually interchangeable. You can change from wide cornering to combo to spot. This is a combo pattern on here. I think that's a pretty cool feature. This 10-inch light bar draws 7.7 amps and it puts out over 10,000 lumens, which is plenty for my Jeep. On my old Tundra, I had a 30-inch Baja Designs Onyx 6 light bar in the grille opening. That was a 2002. On this 2006, there's a larger grille opening, different bumper. So I actually have a curved 40-inch Baja Designs Onyx 6 light bar in there. It's hidden behind the grille opening. Aesthetically, I think this looks really cool. To be quite honest, functionally, it cuts the light output. Buying a $1,000 light and then diminishing the light output is pretty dumb, to be quite honest. But in my case, the appearance was more important than the light output. It still puts out a ton of light, don't get me wrong. This puts out 47,000 lumens and draws 33 amps. but I like the look with it hidden behind the bumper in the grille opening. So same thing with the fog lights. Baja Designs makes a fog light kit that I can put in here to run their amber lamps, but I'm using the stock fog lights. I really like the appearance of them. I did put LED bulbs in those, and I've got them wired up in the center of the dash there, along with a dust light is wired up in the same location. And then the way I've got the light bar wired is actually on a dimmer switch on the floor, old school. I really like this setup. I want to add the same thing to my Ram, because with this, my hands can stay on the wheel. I can turn the light on or off with my foot, and I don't have to even look down, take my hands off the wheel or anything like that. So super handy setup. The only thing that I found is on this truck, it doesn't have an emergency brake that uses a handle. You push on a pedal, and they kind of share the same space. So there are times where I've set the e-brake, turned on the light bar and walked away only to realize, oh, I turned the light bar on. But pretty minor inconvenience, something I'm certainly willing to live with given the light output. One of the biggest challenges at night is backing up. So on several of my vehicles, I've added auxiliary lights that are wired in with the backup lights. On my Jeep, I've got a little mount from TerraFlex where I've got a Baja Designs S2 light on the driver's side in the rear. That is really handy. I find it very useful when backing up. My driveway is steep and twisty, and I have a hard time backing out at night without that light. Now on my Ram, the AEV rear bumper has openings for square lights. So I have two Baja Designs squadrons in there, and I'll be honest, it is total overkill. Even one squadron will be more than I need. And I find with the backup camera at night, it really washes it out and you can't use the camera at all. You have to use the mirrors, which isn't the end of the world, but in retrospect, they're so bright and obnoxious. I kind of wish I had put those on a toggle switch rather than just wired them into the reverse lights. Now on this truck, I've got a dust light. Evil Manufacturing makes a mount that replaces your factory third brake light that's up high, and it allows you to run two Baja Designs S2s in there. So I've got amber lights in there. They are wired individually so I can turn that dust light on, but I find I use that a lot at night when I'm backing up. I can just turn that on when I need the extra visibility, and it's really handy, but it's not on all the time.
Keep going. Roger that.
Hopefully you found this video really useful. You learned a thing or two about lights, about amperage, about lumens, and also got some ideas about how to mount your own lights and how you want to activate them. Make sure and comment below and let me know what your favorite lights are. And don't forget to like and subscribe. 50-inch light bars on everything.
Thanks for watching Driving Line. If you guys like this video, consider subscribing to our channel so you'll never miss any of the content we create here. Whether you're into trucks, Jeeps, imports, domestic vehicles, or anything in between, we are here to fuel your passion. So hit that subscribe button and we'll see you guys next time.